Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It is writing sprint time or admin sprint time for me because I am still tremendously stuck on the book. I still have no idea how I'm going to fix it, and oh well, it is what it is. I swear I'm probably going to stop doing Kickstarter things hopefully today, so that tomorrow I can do like normal admin, and then Monday we are going to go back and try and tackle this book and see if I have been able to get myself unstuck. Because that would be really good. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be able to get there and solve it. So that is my plan. Let's have a look at who is here. We've got Amanis, who has concluded the script and is in the process of compiling a list of applicable sounds and visuals. That's awesome. Jerome is also here. Who else is here? I think I saw somebody else. I saw Padgett Farmer. Welcome, Padgett Farmer. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Oh, there is Orca in the chat. I'm gonna have to catch up on that separately. What is going on in the chat? Oh my goodness. Let's see who else is here. Jim is here. Welcome, Jim. Oh, one thing I need to remind everybody of, just in case like you didn't check Discord, the self-published fantasy blog off 10th annual contest is open right now. The entry form is staying open for 24 hours. So if you have a first in series or standalone fantasy novel, so something over 40,000 words, you should enter. You should enter. It is a random draw this time. So basically, because of the volume of entries that happened last year when I entered, this year what they're doing is they're leaving the form open for 24 hours, and then at the end of those 24 hours, they're going to close the form, and then they're going to randomly select 300 entries from the list of everybody who submitted. So if you've got a book and you're eligible, you should enter. Why not? There is no harm. And I have not checked Twitter or anything to see how many people have submitted, because I think it's going to work a bit differently, because like now you've got 24 hours. Probably lots of people in Australia like me will have just like gone to bed at a decent hour instead of like sitting up and like, you know, spamming refresh to try and get the entry form in. So probably we'll see like more entries come in the next couple of hours, but it will be interesting to see how many people actually submit and then who actually gets drawn. So if you have a book that's eligible, go and enter. Who else is here? Elaine is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see. I am going to put 2 hours on the clock and we are going to get some writing done. Let's go. my goodness, time is up. I swear, guys, I'm having like the biggest trouble like trying to figure out this like rewards section. You don't think about it when you go to back Kickstarters, like you just go and the page, like it all makes sense. It's very easy to read, it's very easy to understand, and you're just like, this all makes sense. And then you try to put one together and you're just like, why is this so hard? How is it so hard for me to come up with like all the things and to arrange it onto a page in a way that actually makes sense? Because I'm just oh, I'm struggling, guys. I'm struggling. Like, I think for a while I was like, what is the difference between specifications and rewards? And especially because like I found myself just repeating things a lot, and then I figured out, oh no, like the specifications should just be the parts where you just outline what's going to be in there. And then like the thing is, I get confused because like then you've also got like the stretch goals and stretch rewards and add-ons and all that stuff, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. But maybe the repetition is like kind of warranted, because you kind of do need the information presented a few different ways as a backup. This is so much harder and more confusing than I bargained for, because I was like, it shouldn't be this hard, should it? Like, I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at how you guys are doing. Lexi has hit the 5K word goal, which is awesome, and we'll be setting a 7K word goal for next time. Elaine has written a whole chapter 1, which is fantastic. What has Jim been doing? Jim has been doing lots of work. No writing on the book, but it was still a good sprint. Jim has also cancelled Claude because he realized that data use rules left a gaping hole that lets them use all of my data. Yeah, like, so my rule of thumb for anything that is generative AI, I would just assume anything you're putting in, they're keeping it. They're keeping it and they're using it. Like, and like the other thing that I'm personally very wary of is like any of those like AI checkers. Like, I would be assuming that all of any data that you put in there and ingest in there, it's also keeping in a database and like using it. So it's just honestly, the situation all around kind of sucks. Although there was like some really positive news that came out. When was it? It was like maybe a few days ago. But apparently there's been in the litigation, which is the it's a bunch of visual artists. So like I think it's Carla Ortiz and a bunch of others who are suing Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and DALL-E, and like a couple of other places in a class action lawsuit. The judge has handed down a tentative. I don't think this is like a final ruling. And to be honest, like I don't understand enough about how the litigation process works to really understand like why we've got tentative rulings as opposed to final rulings. But anyway, so apparently there were some tentative rulings handed down on like the motions that have been filed by both sides, and like the one that was filed on behalf of the artist there was like a very specific it was like a very specific wording. It's something like beyond it's like it was like beyond the training data. Like, so they were trying to show copyright infringement beyond just the inclusion of their copyrighted works in the actual training data. And I think this is probably the work that Gary Marcus and Reed, I've forgotten his last name, Reed, but like he's like a big visual VFX artist and does like Marvel movies and stuff. I think they were like trying to show how like the models have ingested so much of the copyrighted art, like that when you prompt it with very generic words, right? Like very generic words that in theory should not contain any sort of like copyright violation, right? Because like we've got this situation where some people are like, it's not theft if you don't use anybody's name in the prompt, and it's just kind of like, I personally don't really agree with that argument. But if you prompt any of those models with things like superhero, like flying superhero or something, like it will probably spit out something that is recognizably Superman, for instance. Or like I think a couple of people did it with like Italian plumber, and it basically spat out like Super Mario, right? And so I think that was the argument that they were mounting, and it's pretty positive. They were like, yeah, like it's probably the judge was like, I'm inclined to grant the motion that the plaintiffs have filed in relation to this specific thing. And so I think what that means is like the case is going to proceed further into like the next stage. I don't know if that's discovery or something else, but I was like, hey, that's like a really, really nice win for a change. Because like recently it's just, it's been quite discouraging to see what's happening. Like the other thing that I saw, which just kind of, it threw me for a loop, was somebody posted in the, no, it wasn't in a Facebook group. Somebody posted on Twitter that there was a Kickstarter campaign for, I think it was not a publishing project. It was like tarot cards or something. Did I say that right? Tarot? Is it tarot? Tarot cards. It was for like a deck of like 400 tarot cards or something with like art. And it's all like it's all AI art. And the thing funded in something some absolutely ridiculous amount of time. It was like not even 50, like it was like 1 or 2 minutes, like a couple of minutes. And I haven't checked the project page for myself, but I think it's gotten to like 1 million plus or something like that. And it's just, that's the kind of thing that makes me want to cry. Like I am a little bummed that Kickstarter did not take a stronger stance on things like generative AI art, for example. But having said that, like at least the disclosures are there. But also, I don't think they're policing the disclosures very hard, because like I feel like they've just mandated the extra disclosure section just so they don't really have to tackle the hard questions. Because most of the publishing projects I've seen where the authors are using generative AI, like they do this thing where they're just like, oh yes, I totally have the licenses to like all the things, but they're talking about the, you know, like they're paying for a Midjourney account or something like that. And I'm a bit like, like that's just kind of dodging the giant elephant in the room of the unethically sourced training data, which all these models run on, which, but anyway, that is like that's like a totally different subject. And like, I just, like the honestly, the more I think about this and the more I have looked into like contacting human artists and narrators and everybody, right? Like the more I'm leaning away towards like, you know what? Like it's just like it's not even on the same level. And I was like, something else devastating that happened last night was I again on Twitter, like some days I'm just like, I wish I could avoid Twitter, but on Twitter somebody posted that there's a piece of Locked Tomb fan art. So for those of you who have not read it, The Locked Tomb is a sci-fantasy series by Tamsin Muir. Don't know if I pronounced that right. Tamsin Muir, who is a Kiwi author, and it's you've probably heard the tagline before. So Gideon the Ninth is marketed as lesbian necromancers in space. I hate that as a pitch, because I'm just like, it's all aesthetics and it's not actually what the book is about. The book is about necromantic science in a locked room murder mystery on a creepy planet. That's what the book is actually about, and it is awesome. But anyway, the Locked Tomb fandom usually has like amazing art, like absolutely amazing fan art. And somebody posted some fan art and I really liked it. It was like, it looked awesome. And like, I'm not like a pro visual artist, right? Like I will 100% miss like a lot of stuff that like is Gen AI, and I really have to rely on people who are to be like, hey, like this is AI. And anyway, so I saw this piece of art, really liked it, was following the artist on Instagram, and then last night I saw on Twitter that another artist was like, hey, actually this is not this is not human created art. This is generative AI art that is not properly tagged as that. And then there's been like apparently some paintovers and things like that. And like they had this post which documented like this is all the ways that I could tell that it is generative AI. And like when you look at that, I'm just like these are details that I would not have been able to pick out. But now that it has been picked out, I'm like, okay, like that is pretty and like yeah. Anyway, I unfollowed, I removed all my likes from their stuff, and I'm just like, that is like another artist that I guess I will not be considering when it comes to, you know, like commissioning art and stuff, because I'm just like I don't like even if you could like get around the whole unethical training data set, I'm just like, the fact that you did not disclose it and did not disclose what it was, like I can't trust that, because I can't trust that anything else that you say is like what you actually say. So for me, it was like it was very, very disappointing, and I'm so sad. And like I really do think like this is going to make it so much harder for anybody who is new and breaking into the field, like with no established body of work and like not known in the community, and therefore doesn't have any word of mouth referrals and stuff like that. I'm just gonna be like, I don't know if I want to take a chance on a commission from you. Like, how do I know that if I'm commissioning work from you, like it actually is your work? Like, I swear we're gonna get to a point where I'm just gonna have to be like, yo, can you live stream yourself doing my commission, or can you like video yourself doing the commission and like uploading that footage for me to check? Yes. How am I gonna know? I'm not gonna know. Or I guess at this point, I'm just pretty much going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to work with established people that I know for a fact don't use generative AI in their stuff like that. That's kind of where I've gotten to. And the other thing that has like really, really highlighted is like there's a completely different. I don't even know what you call it. It's not. I mean, yes, it is mindset, but it's also like approach, like to like the engagement, right? Like, because when you talk to a real artist and you're like, hey, I want you to, you know, I want to commission this, they start asking you questions that you're like, these are good questions that I have not thought about, and you're just like, I don't know. Like, so I have a lot of work that I will need to be doing before I can kind of like move forward to the next stage of these art commissions that I'm looking into. But like for somebody who isn't an artist and they're just like prompt engineering, like, you know, RNG slot machine on the generative AI, like they don't ask you any of those questions really. Like it's just it's a world of difference between working with somebody who knows and loves the craft, and therefore is coming at the work from an angle that is actually going to improve the quality of what you're trying to do, versus somebody who just like is generating an output that kind of looks like it will pass at a surface level, but like in reality it doesn't. And like the I think the frustrating thing for a lot of artists is like when you can't tell, like it passes well enough, right? Like it really does. Like, and it's honestly, it's the same with generative AI writing. Like I think you look at passages that are spat out by generative AI, and like for people who are, you know, they don't read closely, and if they're reading mainly for plot and things like that, they will kind of read the passage and they'll be like, what are you talking about? Read's fine. Yeah, sure. I'd read a whole book of this. But like, if you are a writer, or if you are a reader who, is reading closely and reads a lot and reads widely, you'll read the same passage and you just be like, oh, it's soulless. It's soulless. Like the characters are flat and the prose is, clunky and cliche, and you'll have a whole list of things you can kind of like pick out about it. But like I don't know, like how much of the population are you? Like, are you representative of the vast majority of the book buying market? Like, I would probably guess not, but yeah, so I don't know. Oh, how did we even get onto this subject? I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. Doug says, I wrote words, but not as many as I hoped. Although apparently the Y-writer total for today was minus 177. Look, man, sometimes that happens, and sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes removing the words that were not meant to be there actually helps the story be stronger, or helps you go in the direction that you actually need to go. And Jim has a question of, what about having AI create the picture you want and then redraw it yourself? See, I like the thing is, right, if you need references, you can go and look for references. There are like libraries of visual references that you can use, or if you can't find one, like you can just literally go and create one. Like if you want a character in the pose, like get someone to take a picture of you doing the pose. Like so there's like the thing about references, which I don't buy as a valid argument, because it's just like, well, it's a reference. Like you can get references many other ways. Like you don't actually have to do it with AI. But then like the other thing is, there was a photographer, Jingna, who had her photograph, which was, I think it was like a Harper's Bazaar or like a Vogue, or one of those like really like the high-end magazine covers. So she had her photo on that cover, right? And then there was like an art student somewhere in Luxembourg who did a painting it was basically her photo, right? He did a painting that was basically her photo. Plagiarism. Let's see if I can find it for you guys. Yeah, here you go. Let's see, let me flip back. So over here, like, okay, see like this in the middle, this is her photograph. This on the left is like some art student taking her photograph and then like doing an oil painting of it, right? Like the pose is flipped, but like it's basically her work. It's basically her work. And this has been like a 2-year court case that has been going on, where it was she found out that he copied her photograph, essentially flipping it. He changed some of the lighting and the coloration and stuff like that, but it's like, it's the same model, it's the same pose, it's the same hairstyling, it's the same facial expression, it's the same costuming. The flower, like he added an earring, and then he entered it into an art contest where basically he was like, yeah, like this is my art. And then like it was like the painting, the original, was being listed for 65,000 euros, something like that. And it's just like, my dude, like, and like his whole entire argument, and apparently this is like unique to Luxembourg, like it's weird, like because EU, like they all have like their own different like copyrights and stuff like that. So apparently, the photographer had the burden of proof to show like the originality in like her actually taking the photo. And initially, in the first court case, apparently the court ruled that like all she did was press a button and take a photograph, and it wasn't original enough, right? Which is like, and it's just funny because like it's a lot of what the pro-generative AI people are saying, in that they're like, oh, the anti-generative AI people are saying, where they're like, it's RNG slot machine, because all you're doing is like, you're just pressing a button or entering prompts, and the machine is just generating different things. But like the thing is, like with photography, there is so much that goes into like the composition of everything. Like it's all about the intentionality of it, right? Like if you are the person with the artistic intent, like there is an artistic intent behind everything that you do with art, right? Like whether it is writing or visual art or photography or cinematography or spoken, like whatever form of art it is, like there is always an artistic intent behind it, right? Like you have an intent, you want to execute an idea a certain way because you want to elicit some sort of feeling or response in whoever ends up perceiving the art, right? Like art is communication. You're trying to communicate something, right? But like when you use generative AI, like all it's doing, it is a statistical interpolation of like a bunch of training data that it has ingested. It does not have intent behind it. And like if you kind of like dig into how like the actual prompt, like the prompting works, like it's too random for like, because you have no actual control over like what the AI spits out, right? Like, and if you've been following the Shadowversity controversy, it becomes really, really clear when you watch his videos of like, and he's like, you know, this is all the work that like I have to put in to produce this AI art, and it's just like he spends the amount of time he spends prompting the machine and reprompting it and like doing the selective things and like the where the image fills or whatever it is, like you would honestly get a much better result if you had just like picked up a pen or pencil and just done it yourself. Like, because there is zero intentionality in what the machine does, and it's basically a lucky draw. And there are many artists who have gone and broken down like his process and like added commentary, and they're just like, this is why we object to generative AI in principle, because it's like the way you have to approach it if you do want to use it is kind of like the exact opposite of how you would actually of the whole process, because there is no process. There is no process to it. It's just you're literally putting in a prompt and you're getting a result. And if you don't like the result, you re-roll it. Like it's all dice rolls. It's all dice rolls. That's what it is. And so like I don't think like having like all of the things that you would get from intentionality would be absent in getting the AI to like prompt the stuff. Like I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure like you guys probably all like went around and had to play around with this stuff like when it came out, and like it's just it is phenomenally bad at interpreting intentionality. And so yeah, I wouldn't do that. Like it is. And again, still putting aside all of the arguments about the training sets and all of that. Let's assume there's ethical training sets and consent and all that. Like, I still don't think it is anywhere as good as just getting somebody who knows what they're doing to do the art. Like, it becomes very, very clear, like in the first like 3 seconds of talking to a human artist, exactly what it is that they bring to the table that the generative AI models out there will never be able to bring to the table right now. And that is like intent on what they're doing. Like, everything's purposeful. They're not just sitting there at the iPad like going, oh, like a probability model that I have ingested. Like, I've ingested, I don't know, 50 million images of apples, and therefore, like, you know, based on like the keywords in my prompt and like the combination of the keywords and all of, like, these dimensions that I've got in my model, like, most probably this pixel is going to be this. Like, they know, like that's not how they think. Like, when they draw an apple, like, they are specifically thinking of lighting and composition and like perspective and all those other things that the AI will never be able to think of. And like, because the AI, like these generative models they're not really AI, they're not intelligent, they don't think, they don't know what they're doing. Anyway, I've got to stop there, because if I don't, I will just be ranting on about this forever. So yeah, like that's my thoughts. I like it. Don't get me wrong, it is very, very expensive. Like, to do, like, sorry, let me walk that back. It is expensive, but it is not as expensive as you think it is. And I think like that's something you hear a lot, but you don't really internalize until you actually go out there and start looking for artists and start talking to them about their rates and like what you want them to do for the commissions. Like I had a response the other day from somebody who I was like, just judging by their portfolio and what they've done, I was like, I am sure you are out of my price range. And then they came back to me and I was like, oh, like that number is not as high as I thought it was. And I wrote back and I was like, so just checking, like, you know, with regards to like rights and things like that, like what's actually included in that number. And they were like, you have all the rights, like no limits, it's all yours. Like, you know, we do the piece and then it's yours and you can do what you want with it. And the only things we're retaining is like, you know, if it's going to be like a physical piece of art, then like we get to keep the original, and like, you know, we also get like portfolio rights to like, you know, post it on social media and stuff. And then they were like, but everything else, like it's yours for like this price. And I was like, wow, it was significantly cheaper than I expected it to be. It's still not really like cheap, right? Like you're paying good money, like money that is you kind of look at that and you're like, oh, like I could get, you know, a lot for this. But at the same time, I'm also like, if you look at it in terms of like how much use you will get out of that piece of art, like how much like you can use it on social media and promos and things like you will, like the ROI on a really good piece of art, I think like you don't really appreciate, I think, until you've been like published. Well, maybe this is wrong. Like I think you don't really appreciate it until you've had a good piece of art and you're able like to do promos with it, if that makes sense, right? Like, so I did invest in really, really good cover art, which is still photo bashed cover art. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like original art, but it is like really good photo bashed artwork, which like people see, and it does the job. It gets people interested in the book. Like, I'm sure I have like not as many cover buys as like other people who like have fully commissioned custom artwork get cover buys, but like it does get the right attention. It does like do all the things, and like I just keep wondering. I'm like, oh, like maybe if I had like from the beginning like invested like X amount of money onto like the cover art, right? Like maybe I could have really like gotten a lot of mileage out of it. Because like if I think back to like how much did I actually spend on my cover in the end, like it was $795, and that was for all formats. So that was for the ebook, the paperback, the hardcover, and it was like for two different printers, right? Like so for both KDP and Ingram Spark. And so it kind of it all adds up. Right, but like for $795 US, I definitely could have commissioned some really good art, like for the cover. Of course, that does add costs on for, you know, typography and all of that. But like my point remains, like if you know, if I could get a good result with photo bashed art, like I do think, at least in my particular genre, I may get like an even better result with like illustrated art, because that's kind of what people who read epic fantasy expect. Like they expect illustrated art. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for listening to my long ramble today, and thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys again tomorrow for another writing admin sprint. Bye guys.